Hello, everybody. My name is Ann Bassoni. I am a therapist with the Work Plus Life Connections program, and I am joined by the rest of the therapists and in the Work Life program, plus our elder care specialists. And the other therapists include Rhonda Henry. She's up there, well, in my corner. There is Cindy Bowling, who is underneath the dream, and there is Eric, looking all serious over there in his corner. And then we have Terry Weber, our elder care specialist. And this is a series that we've put together called Real Talk. And our little tagline is where real therapists, that's us, where real therapists answer real questions. Most of the time they're real. Sometimes we make them up about real life. So today we are talking about sleep. We have taken the different topics from a poll that was done, and some of the more difficult subjects were listed from by the employees, and sleep was among one of the top ones. And I think as a therapist who sees clients, it is an issue that comes up most often, that they're not getting enough sleep, but there are times where it is about getting too much. And I'm hearing more about the too much sleep now that people are working at home and we can see our couches and our beds from where we're sitting sometimes. So it gets a little tempting, but there might be a little bit more to it. So we're going to talk about sleep, and please enter any question you have in the chat room. If you want to remain anonymous, then make sure it comes to me. Otherwise, it goes to everyone. And as those come in, we will answer them. And then this is kind of a special Real Talk because Eric is going to do some mindfulness, some meditation with us that helps with sleep. And hopefully we won't fall asleep and just keep recording for hours, but maybe that's what we want. I'm not sure. So we'll do that the last 10, 15 minutes just to get you relaxed and let you know there is a way to calm down a little bit. Ann Stone's over there. She's getting ready. Look at her. She's got her shoulders going. She's like, yeah, ready for some sleep. So let's get started. Let's see. I don't think we have any questions. See. Yeah, no questions yet. Okay. So I'm going to throw out one that showed up on the poll, it's not a poll. What is that called?
Survey?
Survey, thank you. The big one I think that I hear a lot from my clients, and you all speak up, but is when they try to go to sleep, their mind is racing. Just zoom, zoom, zoom. Some people call it a squirrel in a cage. Just, mind's going on and on and on, and from one thought to another. And how can I stop this? What are your all's thoughts about that?
Well, that happened to me last night.
It did. Tell us about that, Terry.
And it's just one of those things where I can consciously say, if I would just get up and go to the bathroom and write what I was thinking down, I would go back to bed. But it was 45 minutes later when I actually decided to get out of bed, go to the bathroom. And then the thought that I had for today, I always have a pencil and a notepad next to my bed. And if I can get it down, even in scratch, it leaves my head, and then I fell back to sleep. But I don't know if it always works for everybody.
So in other words, to stop thinking about it, get it down on paper.
Get it down on paper. Get it out of your head and get it on paper, even if it's really scratchy, because you don't want to turn the light on in the middle of the night to write it. So
no.
Just get it out of your head.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would just say that I like to think of it as resistance is futile. So the more that we resist, the more it persists. It tends to be that when we try to fight our thoughts, they actually come back even stronger. So I love Terry's suggestion of one way to externalize and acknowledge your thoughts and writing them, and then say, okay, now I'm letting go of this. You can also just kind of become, imagine your thoughts like you're stepping outside of yourself and just kind of watching the thoughts go by, sort of like if you're laying out in a field and watching the clouds pass, imagine one thought come after another. That can be helpful, or imagine it as leaves going down the stream. So this idea that you don't try to fight your thoughts, but you just acknowledge them. You just say, okay, this is thinking. Let me watch my thoughts a little bit. In addition to that, sometimes if there's a specific thing that you're thinking about, like worrying about something you have to do at work, or worrying about some family interaction. I know the holidays are on the horizon, so a lot of people have stress about some family interactions. Being able to acknowledge the thought, but then also think about what comes right after whatever this event is. So what's it look like once you finish the work project, or once you finish the work day, or what's it look like when you visit the family, and what's going to come next? You drive home, or you go home and take a shower, or put on some Netflix, so that you recognize the thought, but you also see it within the context of other series of events in your life. So those are a couple strategies.
Thank you.
One thing I notice is because I struggle with that a lot, and I really have to pay attention to what I'm doing right before bed. That makes a big difference for me, whether like I settle my mind, and I do better if I can read something that's not super engaging, or do something with my hands. I like crafting a whole lot, but if I've had a really like busy night and I just try to immediately sort of fall into sleep, I really struggle with that. So, you may even notice, are there things like kind of what was the night before like, and does that make a difference if you do certain activities, sooner or later before bed?
And we have somebody wrote in the chat room, the phone at night on my bedside is a bad thing, keeping me awake, even when dimming the light. With children, the night light late at night is the only time I get any me time. And I've heard that from a lot of parents, that once they finally get the kids settled, it's late, and that's when maybe they start looking at electronics or reading or doing something. And a lot of the studies say that dealing with electronics before you go to bed is not a good idea for the best sleep. Me time. As parents, do you get me time?
I mean, and can I add a point to that one? Because I know my son's older now, but when he was younger, that was probably my biggest struggle with sleep. Was I needed that window between when he went to bed and when I could go to bed. And I needed some awake time, whether it was to watch TV or read or whatever. And I was willing to shortchange myself on sleep to get some of that quiet time. And for me, I found the amount of time that worked for me. If I didn't do any of that, if I just tried to, again, drop in bed right after he was asleep, I was having this really restless sleep. Like, I got better sleep if I took a little window of even 30 minutes just to watch a TV show or something that was kind of calming, to make that transition to kind of a quieter time for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think another question that we got was, I've never really had sleep problems before, but now suddenly I do. Is there a reason for that? Sure, there's a reason.
What is that reason, Anne?
It could be many and varied, I would say, I think, for some people, aging starts changing our sleep patterns. I think more people are worrying these days about, the pandemic and politics and race and all those things. And so there's a lot more going on in our heads. But, I also always think, if it's sudden, is there a medical issue? So when was your last physical? Have you had that checked out? Is something going on? What are your all's thoughts?
Blame it on COVID.
Blame it on COVID, right?
Really?
I think sometimes, like, I've heard from people that if we are working from home, maybe you don't get as much exercise in your day as you did before. If your body is not exerting the same amount of energy as you used to through the day, then maybe you just haven't, exercised your brain or exercised your physical body enough that it feels ready, or you feel, ready to go to bed. Or, I think initially when we started working from home, I was getting up at the same time, and then I didn't have to leave my house an hour before I had to be anywhere. So then I started sleeping in a little bit later, and I noticed that I wasn't sleeping as well when I did that. So I shifted it back to getting, up at the same time and integrated some different self-care things in the morning, or just making sure that I took the time to cook a better breakfast in the morning than I had the opportunity to cook when I had to go to campus. So I think paying attention to what we're eating, what we're watching, but absolutely, like, everything that's going on in the world, definitely, like, we're trying to process that. And what happens is we try and process it when we're asleep, and sometimes that leads to disruption. So pay attention to what you're eating, what you're drinking. Like, I'll encourage folks to, if they wake up in the middle of the night with specific worries, write those down if it's a dream, or, so you can address them later.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I've also had some clients that have started taking afternoon naps, and so that can be disruptive to sleep as well. One of the things about doing telework is that many of us are working from home, and so there can be that temptation to, like, okay, I'm going to lie down, and so our routines have been disrupted, and so the combination of, like, being aware of that afternoon napping generally is not a good thing for sleep. But then also, I think Cindy was just speaking to the benefits of establishing new routines, kind of recalibrating and readjusting, because for those of us who are used to traveling to campus, some of us have been doing it for a very long time. And so we have to kind of reset and build in new transitions, new downtime, and kind of reestablish some nighttime routines, as well as, I love that Cindy brought up a morning routine. A morning routine can really actually be one of the best things for your sleep. So being able to cook breakfast for yourself, being able to have some downtime so that you don't have to wake up and immediately rush into the day. And so sometimes just creating a better start to your day can impact improve sleep at night.
And I'm going to disagree with Eric for a minute about that nap issue.
Oh,
There is some research that shows it can be better for sleep as long as it's not after 3 o'clock and it's no more than like 20 to 30 minutes during the day. But I think that's individual as well. I think if I get overtired, and I've heard people like echo this too, like if they're overly tired and then they're tired at 8:30, then they're up at 4 a.m. So if you're gonna nap, it should be like prior to 3 o'clock and very short. Like what is 20 minutes gonna do for me? A 20-minute power nap is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Power naps can be great, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely
I
agree
think
with that
sometimes-
nighttime routine.
yeah. Even if you
We're
don't
talking
sleep,
about
you just
Rhonda.
close your eyes, it can be helpful
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, but if I sleep longer than 30 minutes, I'm toast. Like, I'm out.
Yeah, you don't want to get
I have the
up.
nap hangover and it's not happening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I love the point you made, Cindy, about the timing of the nap.
Yeah.
Because in some ways the nap is sort of similar to alcohol and caffeine. In the sense that if you do it right before bed, it's good, or like later in the evening, has more risk of disrupting your sleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I think we hear oftentimes people who are drinking because they say it helps them sleep, and it does help you fall asleep often. But within a couple hours, you're going to be up, and you're going to be facing the same situation. So that's something to think about. Like if I drink,
Dehydrated with a headache.
it's over for me. I'll be up all night. What'd you say, Cindy?
I said dehydrated with a headache.
Mhm.
Oh.
Right. And
Another thing I found is being out in the sun, getting out in the sun, exercising routinely, taking a walk. It's that circadian rhythm. It kind of helps, adjust that in our bodies. And spending some time outdoors every day.
on a horse?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Spending some time outdoors.
Oh, I thought you said on a horse. I was like, that might be hard for some of us.
Yeah.
Well, I have something to share about daylight.
Oh,
I will tell you, and it's been happening for years, when we have a less daylight, it hits me. I have seasonal affective disorder. So I take my D3, but I also have, this is a portable light box. It's the smallest one I have found that I keep at work. I have it at home now. And look at this sucker.
Ooh.
It'll blind you. Sorry, everyone. But it has timers and low, mid, and high. I always keep it on low. But the great thing about this too is I can hook it on my screen to the side so I'm not looking directly into it and still getting the light. So if you haven't tried a light box before, I recommend it. And if you want, go on to Amazon. This is my Sphere. If you want a little one that's powerful, this is a nice one to have.
Yeah, I like the light box, and I think that's a good suggestion. I started using one this year, and it sure makes a difference. And I had a cat that absolutely loved it too. You know, just soaking in that sun, and you know, good 20-30 minutes really helps out.
Mhm.
And they aren't that
I've
expensive.
also heard that you can take D3 supplements, but do you need something called D3 sulfite, which is a type of D3 that you can only get through sun exposure too.
There's
So
the
even
sun.
if you could get out for 5 minutes, now, I don't know, I'm not a medical professional. I just read that somewhere.
It's a good
And we have somebody saying in the chat box, plus there are kids at home and I need to work when they're in bed sometimes, leading to a later night. So sometimes it's hard to get that schedule going, because we have heard stories of people getting up super early, working, then helping their kids during the day and then working late. And that has really disrupted a lot of sleep. Also trying to process the disruption of the superintendent of Fayette County Schools dying and a new interim person causing changes in school startup soon. New stresses. Yeah, and I think it's that unknown of, is it going to be this or is it going to be that? That's led to some sleepless nights. We have one person also asking that it's important for a caregiver to be well rested, and I'm thinking they mean elder care here. Why is it important that a caregiver be well rested?
Well, there's a comment in the chat box saying she has a parent with Alzheimer's and she's the caregiver for, so she needs to be aware of him getting up during the night. And that is exactly what happened to me. And it's very difficult and it really does rack on your sleep. I understand where you're coming from on that. That's where those power naps come in during the day. If you're able to get that 10-15 minute power nap, because you may be up a couple hours at night running around after the person so they don't leave the door. And I mean, at that point, there's really not a lot that you can do, because if you're dealing with someone with Alzheimer's, safety is absolutely number one. That, I mean, above anything else, and you may have to be up. I don't know if they're at the point where they don't understand or couldn't use the medical alert bracelet. But that's yeah. We got to the point where we couldn't use it anymore because he just kept pushing the button and talking to the person. And then they'd call me going, your dad's talking to me again. Really good friends, BFFs with one of the night people there on call. But yeah, there are times and you have to be careful. And you know, that's one of the most common reasons that care facilities say is why someone would place their loved one into a facility. It's because of they can't get it sleep. They just can't get the sleep. Sundowning, that's a real hard one because that happens in the afternoon. The agitation starts coming in, kind of like colic with babies, if you all remember that. And that just messes up their sleep. And that you would have to talk to a doctor. There are some medications that can be prescribed to help with that sundowning. You got to be careful with them, just like any med, you know. But that's very hard. Routine is the most important thing. Trying to get that daily routine. You know, if it's 4 o'clock and that's what time, you know, dinner is, or 5 o'clock, it better be on the table at that time. Because routine is how they tell their day. That's how they tell their day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you know, I think you kind of hit upon it as a caregiver. Not getting sleep can be rough, and that can be true also for parents of young kids, parents of teenagers. What are some, I think we've all heard that there's, some physical impact of not getting enough sleep. Can you all talk about that a little bit? What are some of the ramifications? Ramifications, that's my big word today. What are some of the
Yeah.
ramifications of not getting enough sleep on our health? Whether it's
Yeah.
because of elder care or child care.
I mean, it lowers
Or me time.
productivity, it lowers concentration, it increases, you can have an increase in weight, heart disease, diabetes, stroke. I mean, lack of sleep is really serious stuff. And, it's something to talk to somebody about, to talk to your doctor about, to, contact one of the therapists to talk about, see if there's something going on in your mind. Reading up on it, trying to find ways for yourself that you can get those ideas, those running ideas out of your mind, so you can get back to sleep. It causes a whole lot of health issues. I mean, I used to come into work kind of ragged a few days and, Ann would be like, hey, wake up over there.
I
Yeah.
was going to say there's a okay, you want to go ahead, Cindy?
No, go ahead.
Okay. There's a TED talk that I'll put in the chat box, but I think it's as Matthew Walker is a professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, has a really great TED talk on some of the health implications of insufficient sleep. Some of the research that he has cited that when there's sleep deprivation, learning is impaired by 40%. So if you could imagine that for ourselves or for our children, a 40% drop off in learning. It's hard to store information in our memory if we don't get sufficient sleep. It's kind of like how we save new information, how we integrate new learning. He cited some really fascinating research about the daylight savings time. So when we lose an hour due to daylight savings time, the next day there's a 24% increase in heart attacks when we lose that hour. When we gain an hour in daylight savings time, that next day there's a 21% decrease in heart attacks, which really just speaks to the profound impact that sleep has on our physical life. And then there's also just this really, interesting research that he shares about how when we have less sleep, there's a strong correlation between people that get less sleep, living shorter lives, higher rates of mortality. And then even in thinking about 1 week, when they've done some genetic research, 1 week of deprivation from sleep impacted, they were able to identify over 700 genes. And what we saw was a decrease in gene activity that is associated with our immune system, and an increase in gene activity that's associated with inflammation and other health problems. So there's it's really profound, and I feel like it's something that's just not widely acknowledged, how much impact sleep has on both our learning and on our physical functioning. And I will put that link in the TED Talk into the chat box.
Cindy, what were you going to say?
I forgot.
Okay.
I think
Did you get
just
enough
talking
sleep last
about,
night?
yeah, I don't have any trouble sleeping. I'm gonna be here to say, but I think just talking about practical things like Eric mentioned, if you are sleep deprived, it can be like you're impaired, like you're inebriated, that kind of thing. And so just to pay attention to, if you're in a situation to not get the sleep that you need or be that deprived of sleep, to just pay attention to not do those things, even if you feel like you have to, like don't drive long distances, that sort of thing. Just pay attention, to what's going on. Because some of us are just wired and throughout our lives have difficulty with sleep.
Yeah, somebody in the chat box said they've always had trouble with sleep. And I definitely can relate to that. This year I did a sleep study and found out I was waking up 200 times an hour, something just ridiculous. And when I finally got the sleep apnea, sleep machine. You know, I think I was a nicer person. I wasn't as irritable. My A1C went down. You know, I could think better, and I would never have thought that that was an issue. And my doctor actually, because I kept saying I'm just tired. I'm tired all the time. You know, and I was waking up and I'd go back to sleep within an hour if it was the weekend. So that's why I do say sometimes check out some medical issues if you try these other things and they don't work.
And I second that one. I also did the sleep study thing years ago. It was a little bit of an odd referral at the time because I didn't really think that's what was going on. And it was life-changing. I mean, truly, to be able to get better quality sleep, I mean, just in so many ways. So, you know, if you think that feels like an overreaction or too much, talk to your doctor about a sleep study, you know, and again, you may come out of that and they may say, no, that's not what's going on, or it's not sleep apnea, or that's not what's here, but to at least be able to rule out some things while you're trying to figure out and sort of, it's like a big puzzle. You're trying to fit all these pieces together. And to me, it's just smart to sort of check that one out and see if that's part of what's going on.
It is life-changing. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, thanks for putting that in there, Eric. Eric put in the YouTube, is that a TED Talk you said?
It's a TED Talk, yeah.
Okay. And somebody wrote, sleep deprivation can become a serious health issue. I have found that if I have trouble completing a sentence, then that is a major signal that I need to pay attention and change habits immediately. Sometimes there are peak times for this, such as dealing with a newborn, a new job. And somebody else had put that their eye was twitching. And that was something that was going on. Like I had one eye that was starting to come down and it was twitching. And that I don't have that now that with the sleep machine. Okay, this is interesting. Someone writes, my main issue with sleeping is a frequent vibration type feeling. My mind is settled, but my inside sensations are hyperactive until I remember to just get up and try again later. I like the vibrating, but not when I'm trying to sleep.
Interesting.
I like that they mention the idea of getting out of bed and coming back later. Because I think, you know, when I wake during the middle of the night, sometimes that's one of the ones I just have to do. And you know, everybody, you know, sometimes you just got to play around with it and sort of figure out what your pattern is. But, you know, I may lay there 10 minutes, but if I'm more than about 10 minutes, I know that means I'm awake. And so that may mean getting up, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to go there. When I've had a lot of clients who really struggle with just these big swaths of time where they're awake during the night, you know, not just the restlessness or toss and turning, but like they're awake for a couple of hours, I will talk about getting out of bed. And, you know, in my view, even if you're not getting the best quality sleep you've ever had on your couch, if you can move to your couch and you can cuddle up and you can turn on something quiet to distract yourself maybe from those thoughts, and you can doze or you can get a little more sleep, that may be better than not getting any sleep in your bed and having that frustration, you know? And sometimes I'll talk to folks about almost thinking of it in terms of sort of a scale of, you know, 10 might be your perfect, good, solid 8 hours of sleep. And, you know, 1 is down at the, I'm barely getting my eyes shut at all. Can we get at least better? You know, it may not be that we hit that 8-hour mark of perfect sleep, but can we get something that's a little more restful? You know, if we can't actually fall asleep, can we at least rest? Can we be in space that is already set up? You know, I'll encourage people, put a pillow and a blanket in your living room. If that's a place that, especially if you know, maybe if you sleep with a partner or you don't want to wake somebody else up and you want to relocate, have a spot set up so you're not doing that in the middle of the night. Going somewhere else and at least, again, being restful, being quiet, trying to quiet your mind. And you may eventually go back to bed, or you may eventually choose, you know, to hit the bedroom again. But I think, in my view, rest is better than not rest. Just a thought.
Rhonda, I was
Start
going to say,
looking at the clock a lot of times when you're in your bed, and
gosh.
you say, oh gosh, it's getting to be 3.
Yes.
Now it's 4. And I think when I move out to the couch, I don't have a clock out here. So that's no longer part of the issue. Sorry, Eric, go ahead.
you know, I was just thinking, Rhonda was making me think of this from that same TED Talk I referenced earlier, this nice metaphor that we would never go to our kitchen table and just sit there waiting to feel hungry. So why do we lay in bed sitting there waiting to feel tired? That that, to Rhonda's point, that we should be laying down in our bed when we're actually tired. And if we're not tired and we lay in bed, then our brain starts to associate our being in bed as something other than a place for sleep. And so I think there's a real wisdom in that if you're not feeling tired or sleep is not happening, don't stay in bed, relocate.
Yeah, there's that saying of bed is about sleep and sex. You know, that you really don't want to be eating there, working on your computer, doing all those other things. You just want that association. Now, reading, I know, helps me. So I will read in bed, but that's just always been, and that helps me fall asleep. But yeah, our mind can start attaching all sorts of different stuff, and we really can get distracted. Let's see. Let's see. Anything I can. Is there anything I can do to get a good night's sleep? Evidently not. Next question. No.
I think establishing a bedtime routine.
Yeah, I think
Good
sleep
thing.
hygiene really can, there are lots of things that we can do. And I think much anything to do with mental health, they're really individual to what works for you or what doesn't, So, but I think having a consistent routine, really being curious about what works for you and what doesn't, like when you do have periods of unrestful sleep and know that sometimes like we're not going to sleep well, and like anticipating that sometimes we're stressed and we should feel stressed in certain situations, and acknowledging, that stress is going to come. Like, you're not going to get good sleep when you have young kids, you're not going to get good sleep when, those young kids are bigger and they're not in your house and they're out wandering around somewhere and God knows what's happening to them. And with, the elder care piece, like to wrap your mind around the acceptance of like, my sleep isn't going to be as good as it has been, and to acknowledge and do something with those feelings so you don't get resentful, you don't get anxious, you don't get those things, because that can definitely further interrupt your sleep.
What do you all think about the use of melatonin? I hear that a lot, that people are using melatonin to help them go to sleep.
I mean, I have some folks who have really good experiences with it. I have some that are just like, it just doesn't do much for them. They just don't find it that effective. But for folks that feel like it's helpful, I know a number of people have taken it for a long time and it felt like it was a really useful part, usually though, of kind of like Cindy was saying, kind of a bigger sleep hygiene sort of effort, making the room cool, making the room dark, making sure your bed's comfortable, those kind of things we typically hear about. But I think it can be an okay tool to use. What do you all think?
Tanya's a big advocate. She said when she took it, she didn't wake up when the fire alarm went off.
Good.
And then we have someone else saying that it helps a person with dementia.
I've heard that.
So Tanya's not an advocate. She's scary.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Tanya.
But I was thinking, to Tanya's point, one of the things I have seen with clients is there's a wide range in sensitivity to melatonin. And so even if you go and look at the supplement store, it comes in all different milligrams. And so, I've had a lot of folks that have benefited from melatonin if they find it to be helpful, but there's also usually the need for some experimentation to figure out what's the right amount for me to be able to fall asleep, but be able to wake up in the morning and not feel groggy. So I do think that there's a lot of variation from person to person.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I have read that if your body makes the right amount of melatonin and then you take it, it can have, kind of polar opposite effects. Either it can sedate you and make you too sleepy and kind of feel that drug hangover the next day, or it can like rev you up and have like some people have an adverse reaction to Benadryl, and it can be kind of like that.
Mm.
So
Another time I took it the baby ended up in bed with me, and I had no idea how he got there.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh my
somebody slid the
gosh.
Ambi-
My husband
somebody
brought,
slid the Ambien in that bottle. Like,
my husband had brought him, and I was feeding him and asleep and had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
oh,
Like automatic feeding thing in the middle of the night, and I had no idea.
wow.
Whew.
So maybe
So you're
that's the best thing for you.
Not with kids around, I don't think.
Gosh, yeah.
35, 45, 55. Eric, you want to try your sleep potion on us?
I wish I had a sleep potion. I could retire. Like if it was one that did not create dependency and it was just and gave you that deep quality sleep. Well, in thinking about, Ann had suggested the idea of like what can be helpful from a meditation or mindfulness standpoint. I do know a lot of folks that use, before I do a short activity with everybody, let me just say, I know a lot of people, actually Rhonda was the first one that kind of pointed me towards yoga with Adriene. I've had a lot of people that have used the bedtime yoga routines that Adriene has on. One of them I think is an 8-minute routine, and the other one is 20-minute routine. So I know that some gentle movement that's really designed for helping people to calm their nervous system, that can be helpful. I know that just everyone's spoken to the benefits of some quiet, some downtime where you're not in front of the screens, where you're doing some kind of just really relaxing type activities. But when you get to the point of actually being in bed, one of the things that's the most researched is the benefits of either using progressive muscle relaxation. And again, I'm not going to, that's not the one I'm going to lead you through today, but just for those who are curious, progressive muscle relaxation is where you work through different muscle groups within your body and you just tense them and relax them. And so often you would start with like tensing your forehead, relaxing it, tensing your eyes, relaxing it. I like to tensing your eyes because you can think of like scrunching up your nose. You can feel it. Anne's doing a great demonstration of that. But you scrunch up your nose and you scrunch up your eyes and your cheeks. You tense your jaw. You then move through like your neck and your shoulders, your arms, your abdomen, your legs. So that's progressive muscle relaxation, where you basically just work through different muscle groups, you tense and relax. Well, what I'm going to just do a quick demo. If you are someplace where you can lie down, that's generally what I would recommend in this situation, would be to find a comfortable place to lie down. If you need to sit up, that's totally okay too. But I'm just going to kind of walk you through a body scan practice. And so in this situation, and when I lead folks through meditations, I usually encourage folks, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, I often close my own eyes because it helps me kind of just come into that place. So I'm going to just kind of close my eyes and just imagine, hopefully you could be lying down right now, but if not, imagine yourself lying down in the bed. And as you lie down, the first thing you want to kind of just notice is just notice your breath. Like you don't have to force anything. It's just the natural rise and fall of your breath. You just notice your inhale, your exhale. If you're lying down, it can be helpful to put your hand on your belly. If you're sitting up, it's also helpful to put your hand on your belly. It's calming to your nervous system, so I like to put both hands on my belly. With your eyes closed, just notice the rise of your belly with every in-breath, the fall of your belly with every out-breath. Just kind of follow your breath. And then bring your awareness to the top of your head. Notice any sensations. Is it cool? Is it warm? And bring your awareness to your forehead, allowing your forehead to relax. If there's any tension in your forehead, just letting that kind of dissolve. And then relax your eyes. Again, soften your eyes. Keeping them closed, just kind of let the eye muscles relax. Bring your awareness to your mouth. Again, relaxing your lips and your jaw. Maybe slightly parting your lips. Notice if you can feel any sensations on your lips. Continuing to travel down, just breathing naturally. Notice how your neck feels. Is it cool? Is it warm? Is there any tension there? If you notice any tension, you might think about directing your breath in the direction of your neck where the tension is. Just kind of releasing that tension. You continue to travel down. Notice how your shoulders feel. Is there any tightness, any soreness? Allowing your shoulders just to drop. Again, a lot of times we carry stress in our shoulders, so you could imagine breathing some warmth in the direction of your shoulders, just kind of relaxing your muscles. And if they don't relax, that's okay too. Just notice how your shoulders feel. And if you're lying down on your bed or you're sitting in a chair, just notice the weight of your body. If you're lying down, allow your body to just kind of sink into the bed. Allow yourself to feel heavy, your body weighted down. Continuing to bring your awareness, bring it to your back. Notice what your back feels like in contact with either the bed or with your chair. If there's any tightness or soreness in your back, allow it to release. Bring your awareness to your chest. Again, what sensations are there? Allowing your chest to relax, soften. Bring your awareness to your arms and your hands. What does it feel like in your fingers, the palms of your hands? Allowing the muscles in your arms to relax. Continuing to travel down, bring your awareness to your belly. Noticing your in-breath and your out-breath. Are there any sensations within your belly? Whatever's there, just allow it to be. Continuing to breathe normal and easy. Now take your awareness down to your hips, your buttocks. Just allowing any tension there to release. And bring your awareness to your legs. Either the place of contact between your legs and the chair, if you're sitting, or notice the contact between your legs and the bed if you're laying down. Breathing easy and normal. And now bring your awareness down to your calves. You may be able to feel some coolness or some warmth. You may be able to feel contact between your legs and the bed if you're laying down. Continuing to travel down, bring your awareness to your feet. Notice how the soles of your feet feel. You might be able to feel the texture of socks. If you have shoes on, you might be able to feel the contours of your shoes. Bring awareness to the toes in your feet. Notice your toes on your right foot. Notice your toes on your left foot. Continuing to breathe easy and relaxed. Allow yourself once again to feel the weight of your body sinking into the bed, sinking into your chair. Noticing the rise and fall of your breath. For a little bit of time, just allow yourself to feel your entire body calm and relaxed. If your mind wanders into thinking, which it always does, you can just acknowledge thinking and come back to your body. Come back to the rise and fall of your belly. Every in-breath, every out-breath. When you notice yourself drifting off in thought, you can connect to the weight of your body on the bed or in your chair, to your hands, on a blanket if there's a blanket, or your hands on your belly if they're on your belly. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and allow yourself to come back into the room. So that was about a 10 to 15 minute body scan. And that is something that is a really nice practice once you get into bed and you're ready to just kind of let go of the day and let yourself kind of move into sleep.
And Eric, you can find some of these like guided meditations and things on the internet, can't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of both body scan meditations on YouTube as well as progressive muscle relaxation. And so it's really about just, finding something that connects with you. But once you go through this practice a couple times, you really don't even need a guide anymore. You can kind of just start with the top of your head and just scan down through the course of your body, noticing what you're feeling and allowing the different aspects of your body just to relax and allowing tension to leave your body.
And I would even say that this can be helpful for kids and teens also. I mean, there's some good ones online too. And it's a good practice to help your kids learn to regulate their sleep and their bodies. And yeah, Eric, tension is gone from somebody's neck. See, we call Eric the tension releaser. And he has this impact on people sometimes. And Jan mentioned this one thing called nothingmuchhappens.com. And it's just like, it's like what happens here, not much. It's like what happens in our midday mingle, not much. But they're just kind of stories, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, but just stories that are just, kind of rambling, quiet voice type of things that maybe your auntie tells you at the Thanksgiving table and you fall asleep. So, you can try them. The ocean sound on my baby's machine helped me sleep, I think, when he slept in my bedroom. I should play it on my phone, I suppose, to help me. Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I would say is that some of this stuff really takes practice. Like I was glad, Eric, when you said, if your thought wanders, because it is really hard for me still to this day because my thoughts wander. But when I can do it, it works wonderful. So don't give up if it doesn't help the first few times, and do try different ones. I was listening to one, and the guy's voice was kind of this high pitched nasal, and I did not like it. But I kept listening, thinking this is the one. And when I switched, it was like, oh, okay, there's another one.
Yeah, I once had somebody tell me they could only listen to guided meditations if the person had a British accent. So it's really specific to like what works for you, and our minds do wander. So the practice is really, I always think of my belly as how I come back to my breath. And we do know that when you put your hands on your belly, that's calming to your nervous system. Just that soothing touch is calming. And there was a question posted direct to me directly, but I think it's for the entire group. It's okay if I read that out loud?
Yes.
It says, not sure if I should direct this to you specifically, but any suggestions regarding how to deal with stress dreams? I frequently have stressful dreams that are related to all parts of my life, my work, my family, and my friends. These sometimes wake me up, so I guess they're kind of nightmares. Regardless, when I wake up in the morning, I feel so much more tired than when I went to bed the night before. And also on a separate question, any tips for falling back to sleep after being up in the middle of the night? So that's the questions, kind of how to, thoughts about waking up to nightmares, feeling fatigued, so I'll speak to one thing regarding the stress dreams, and then I think some other folks, if they want to jump in on the going back to sleep. One of the things that can be helpful if you have a lot of nightmares is to intentionally do some positive visualization before you go to bed, where you really engage your senses. So I kind of just walked everybody through like a body scan. You could lay down on your bed and start with a body scan, and then just allow yourself to imagine a place to you that is calm and relaxing. So it could be like a nature space. It could be like somewhere in a forest, or it could be on the beach, but really allowing yourself to imagine how you feel, what you're hearing, what physical sensations are present. And this allowing yourself to kind of indulge in this like calming visualization that can often carry over into our dreams. So that's one thought if you have recurrent nightmares. Other thoughts for people, the other therapists, about the nightmares and about going back to sleep?
I think I took a whole training about like using your dreams in therapy to identify what's going on. But I think a lot of us have like classic anxiety dreams, like when stuff's going on in real life. That's our body's way of trying to process through what's happening, make sense of it, come to some decision about it. And so I think if you're having those over and over, like really look at like what's going on right now, what could be leading to this, like what is coming up for me that I'm worried about. I worry a lot about being late. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. But so I have the dream often that I'm enrolled in a college class and I have not been all semester and I have to go take the exam. I'm so cliche, like I'm the one. But it comes up a lot for me. And usually that means like there's something that I'm avoiding doing. There's something I'm procrastinating with. Like there's something that I need to attend to. And then like it'll go away. So I always encourage people, if you have those recurrent thoughts or, anxiety or worry or things like that are showing up in your dreams, just pay attention, because it's trying to tell you something that maybe we have some control over, maybe we don't, but I think that's why it's showing up. And as far as going back to sleep in the middle of the night, I have a couple of strategies that I teach people. I think there's it's technically self-hypnosis, but it's just kind of distraction. And I will encourage people to, like, as laying there, notice, like, start with the number 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can feel. And if you can only see 2 things in the dark, so don't turn on lights and stuff, but then just repeat those things. Like, I can see the clock, I can see the window, 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 and count down from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. And by the time you get to the bottom of that, you should be drowsy. If you're not, kind of start back at the top again. And if those grounding things don't work for people, I know it sounds silly, but the counting sheep thing, but counting forward is too easy. So to use counting backward, it takes a little more mental energy to do. And when your thoughts wander or when you start to get tired and lose your place, just like jump back in where you thought you were, and keep going. It works. But it takes a little practice to remember to go there. And whoever was talking about the stories, I will say I have used sleep stories since COVID here and there because I've had some trouble sleeping that isn't typical for me, and the sleep stories work for me. Like there are ones specifically for waking in the middle of the night, and I don't know what happens at the end of those stories. So apparently.
I was gonna say the sleep stories work for me too.
Yeah.
That's
I didn't
helpful.
think they would, but I was like, oh, okay.
And I was thinking, I like how Cindy mentioned counting. One of the things I sometimes will recommend is counting with your breaths, where you count up to 7 and then back down to 7. And so in breath 1, out breath 2, in breath 3, out breath 4, in breath 5, out breath 6, in breath 7, out breath 6. And then you start going down, in breath 5, out breath 4. So there's a lot of different breathing you can do with counting that can be really helpful.
Great.
Can I
Thank
jump
you,
in?
everybody. Go ahead, Rhonda.
One last thought there. I'm going to take a little spin on this around aging, because what I've noticed as someone who may or may not be having hot flashes is during the night when that happens, sometimes I need to get up and like either straighten up the bed. I need, if you, depending on what you wear to bed, you may want to change your clothes, even going and like washing my face, or, just something simple, but something where I almost mimic those bedtime routines. If I've gotten up and I'm hot and I can't get settled, just kind of resetting that space. So age has definitely been one that has brought some changes for me with sleep, and also honestly just things I can tolerate. I might have been able to do caffeine up till bedtime before, but I can't do that now. Or I might have been able to eat certain things and not have problems, but I do now. So even thinking about that and realize, looking at, is something different than what it used to be. This never was a problem. I never had an issue, but maybe I need to tweak some of those things because maybe age has made it so that those are more of an issue than I expected.
Yeah, I can't eat Indian for dinner anymore. It's so sad.
No.
I have to have it for lunch.
I'm not sure we can end on such a sad note.
Sorry.
So I'm just going to say that we love Indian food, all of us, but
Yes.
maybe not for dinner anymore. But anyway, we really appreciate you all stopping by and spending this hour with us here at Real Talk. If you heard something you like, or you think, boy, maybe I need a little bit more of this, just head on over to the Work Life website, and you can sign up and get yourself scheduled for an appointment. We will be closed starting on Friday for those bonus days, and we'll be back on January 4th. And during that time, the scheduler will be down. So get your appointment in soon if you want. And we hope to see you again on Tuesday, January 19th at 3 o'clock so that we can talk about finding your purpose. So that's Real Talk from Real Lexington, from Real Therapy. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.